Hello, my name is Jacqueline Bodie, and I'm going to walk you guys through my personal portfolio for my capstone. So this is the home screen of my project of my website. So next I'm going to take you to the About Me section. So I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I graduated last year with my bachelor's degree in middle childhood math and English education. I'm currently pursuing my master's degree in computer education and technology. And in addition to getting my master's, I am also a fifth grade reading teacher, which is important to know because I applied a lot of my projects throughout this program to my actual classroom. The next tab is the standards and revised projects. So I gave a quick description about what the standards are. I have a link to the ISTE standards here and then a link to the projects that meet those standards. As we scroll down, there is a link and a description of the first project that I revised. There is another description and link to the second project that I revised. And then down here at the bottom is the new project that I created. And I will get in more in depth of all of this in just a little bit. Over here is my class projects. And I have created a Google folder that links to each one of these. And as you click on them, it takes you to the folder, and within that folder, it has all of the major projects or the final project that I completed in each of these courses throughout my time in this program. The last tab here is my contact information, just my basic email, where I'm from, my Twitter handle, and then I also included my resume on here as well. So going from here, I'm going to first introduce you to the Standards and Revised Projects tab, and I'm going to go more in depth with the standards that were met and the projects that I used to meet those. So as I click on that link, it's going to take me to another Google folder that within this folder, it has a document for each of the standards. And then as you click on it, so for standard 1, it states the standard, the project that I used to complete that standard, and then an explanation of how I met that standard. So for this first one, it was with the Clever Touch Professional Development through EDCT 6042. And this professional development gave me the opportunity to explore new technology that is up and coming in the education world. So a Clever Touch is a newer version of the smartboard, and it's replacing a lot of those boards in classrooms. The problem with this is there's not a lot of information out there on it, and teachers are not familiar with it. So we took my group of 3 other educators, and I took this opportunity to not only educate ourselves, but then to educate our peers on this tool as well. So we created a professional development that didn't just teach us how to use it, but it also taught us how to implement this Clever Touch into our instruction to engage our students more in what they were learning about. As we click over to Standard 2, Standard 2 was met with an instructional design project that I did in EDCT 6031. And this project gave me the opportunity to really dive deep into what direct instruction was and different ways that it was being used. And I used a lot of different types of technology throughout this project to really get to know the students in my classroom a lot better. And this, looking at their results from their assignments and their assessments, it gave me a better idea about who my students were as learners. So I was able to take this information and differentiate my instruction to be able to engage each individual learner better with their experiences. Standard 3, I met by creating a Google Classroom for EDCT 6012. So this classroom, I was able to take what I was teaching in my actual classroom and creating an online version of that. And this was very neat for me to be able to do because I do use a Google Classroom in the 5th grade class that I'm teaching now, but I don't use it as effectively as I could. So it gave me the opportunity to take those materials that I was actually using in my classroom, the videos, the short stories, the articles, the resources that I talk about and I show to my students, but then give them an online version of it that could be accessed anywhere at any time on any device. And then it also served as a good communication tool between me and my students and me and the parents of my students as well, because then parents were able to see what exactly their students were learning in the classroom and the expectations that I had for them for their assignments. Standard 4 was met with a Google Translate professional development that I did, which was one of my favorite. A lot of my students, well, a few of my students, do not speak English. So starting off the school year, we had a very huge language barrier. So I took this opportunity as a way to learn to communicate with those students and to help them learn in my classroom a little bit better. One of the main pieces that I focused on throughout this research was how accurate are the translations and are they hindering the learning of my students? So I was able to find out that these translations were accurate or accurate enough that the understanding and the learning was being processed. And I also used Google Translate to check in with my students reading in my classroom and the comprehension of what they were reading. Not only were they able to read the words, but were they understanding what they were reading? So I gave my students a higher level book, and I gave them access to Google Translate, and they were able to not only read through the book, but they were able to accurately answer the comprehension questions. Standard 5 deals with the digital citizenship throughout technology. And I met this standard by creating a visual design website through EDCT 6002. And this website, on the home screen, there is a link to Google Translate because I wanted anybody, no matter the language, to be able to access the information throughout this site. So that link is there to diminish that language barrier. It also, within this site, there's a lot of different resources, and these resources can be used by any learner, no matter the age, the experience, or the knowledge level with the tools. Most of the tools are free, and for the ones that are not free, there are substitutes that can be used for that. So money will never be an issue, and those resources are also accessible on any device. So whether you have a smartphone, a laptop, an iPad, these materials will be able to be used on any of those sources. Then going down to Standard 6, which is the last one. This standard was met when I created a Google Classroom professional development for EDCT 6030. And this professional development gave me the opportunity to talk to some fellow educators about how they can really use Google Classroom to extend the learning beyond the actual classroom. So I worked with them to not only create a classroom that can then be applied to what they were doing in their real lives and in their classrooms then and there. I also introduced them to a bunch of different tools and extensions that can be used to enhance their classroom and to enhance their instruction as well. So now that I've gone through all of the standards and how those were met, I'm going to go on and explain the projects that I revised. So the first project that I revised was for EDCT 6012, and it was my online course design, which was my Google Classroom. So at the time, I created the class that I was teaching into an online course. So I took, and that was at the beginning of it was in my fall semester, so it was at the beginning of my time in the program. So since then, I have been aware of a lot of updates that have come with the Google Classroom, and I have been exposed to some extensions that have been very helpful in the classroom as well. So as I click over here, I'm going to show you what the classroom looked like first. So this was the first homepage. So this was a notification for all the material that I had uploaded. And then over here in the classwork, this is what my students would see and where they would go to find all of their information. So then my new classroom, some things that you're going to see that are different is in that classwork section, the materials at the very top, I reorganized based on when they were being used. So the very first resource that is used throughout these 6 weeks, that is at the very top. And then it goes down chronologically from there. So that material is organized better. There was a week 7 that I had added with 1 day in it. So I deleted that week because it was not part of the requirements. There was not a full set of resources provided there, and it was just kind of cluttering the classroom. So since it wasn't needed, I went ahead and deleted that. The topics or the weeks, I upload it and I updated the classroom, so then that way you can search just the weeks instead of having to scroll all the way through to the bottom to find the information that you're looking for. And then the stream page, which was that homepage that I showed you, I changed the settings on it so that way you won't get a notification for every single resource that is updated into that classwork section. You will only see notifications for when an instructor pushes out an update or a message that they want to see. So here's the updated classroom. So as you can see, this home page is a lot cleaner than the other one. So here's where I would go ahead and I would just create an announcement, and that is all that my students would see on this home page. My classwork section, as you can see up here, everything is organized based off of when it occurs. And so instead of having to scroll all the way through down here to get to week 5 Wednesday, which if you click on this, you can see all the material that is within these days. All you need to do is go over here. So I would click on week 5, and then there is all the materials for Wednesday. So it's a lot cleaner, a lot easier to use. It's quicker to find the classwork. So I wanted to create a document or a resource for my students to be able to access their information easily. The second project that I revised was from my EDCT 6901 class, and this was the one that I took in the fall. And so the second project that I completed throughout this course was on authentic learning experiences. And I have been exposed to a lot of different resources throughout my time in this program. And so authentic learning experiences for me is very important because I want my students to be able to connect with what they're learning. So I think that learning more about resources, I wanted to take that opportunity to show my new knowledge throughout this project. So I'm just going to pull up, because most of what the old project is still in the new project. So I'm just going to show you what's different because it's been added to. So the things that are changed is what's written in purple. So anywhere you're going to see that purple text is where there is new information added into my project. And then one of the biggest changes that I've made is I gave students a choice of the project that they were going to create. Originally, they were going to create an online passport. And they still have the option to create that online passport using a resource, but I also gave them the option of creating a virtual world. So I think, first of all, having a choice between what they want to do enhances instruction and really enhances their engagement and what they were learning about. But then using technology in a whole new way to create a whole new world is very neat for students to be able to do. I also changed the way that students were being assessed. So instead of assessing their final product, I changed it to assessing the effort that they put into their project. So then that way students would feel comfortable really exploring and getting to know the tools and building their knowledge, not only on the information, but the resources as well. And then the fact sheet at the bottom is more organized, so it's appealing to the eye. So I will go ahead and I'll show you the old document. So this is the old one. So that's just the research that I did. So this is what the old one looked like. And the biggest change is what you're going to see here with this recording sheet. So this is the old one and then the new one. And remember, everything that's written in purple is the information that has been added. So I made my objective more specific. I added CoSpaces, which is the account that students will use to create their virtual world, and Book Creator is what students will use to create their online passport. So I really just enhanced my instruction and made it more specific and explained more of what students will be doing and the choices they will have. And then here's the redesign of the information sheet that students will use. It's more pleasing to the eye, more organized for students to use. Now I am going to go ahead and I'm going to explain the new project that I created. And this project, it meets the third standard, which is create and support effective digital age learning environment to maximize the learning of all students. So for my new project, I created more weeks on one of the Google Classrooms that I had already made. And within this week that I created, I used different resources to make the videos and the lectures that I was presenting to my students. I included more videos. I created more engaging opportunities for them to interact with each other and then interact with themselves as well with the material that was being provided. So I had added a week 7, which we will see here in just a second. So this week 7 is the new project that I had added. So I enhanced the directions. I added book clubs, and these book club agendas are more engaging for my students. So remember, I'm in a 5th grade classroom, so having an agenda that looks like this is more appealing to them than just a bulleted list of what they were supposed to be doing. So not only did I make them more fun for my students to engage in, I made them applicable to what they were doing with their reading. So I also added a brain dump section instead of a discussion board. So this brain dump just gives students a really quick opportunity to reflect on what they were learning. So they would just type in their response here and sign their name. This then gives me the opportunity to go through and really dig deep and see what my students were learning and what they took out of the instruction that I gave that day. So this is that formative assessment piece. So as you go through day by day, so like here in Tuesday, there's a presentation, and I used Prezi for this presentation. So we'll take a look at that very quickly. So just a more fun and engaging way than to go through a PowerPoint. It's more engaging. There's more things for students to look at, more for them to engage in. So if you go down here to the video, I included a video, and I'm asking them questions, and from this they will then go and reflect with their book club group that has been implemented into these programs as well, or within this week. So overall, I learned a lot from this program, and it's a lot that I can apply within my classroom. So I've had a lot of fun being able to take what I'm learning and seeing how engaging the instruction can be, and applying it to a 5th grade classroom and making my instruction so much more fun for my students. They have been able to play games and create on their own. I've made a lot of my instruction student-centered, so that way they're in charge of their own learning and they can really explore with the materials that I'm giving them. So from here, I actually got a job teaching 6th grade ELA next year up in Columbus. And I'm really excited to be able to take what I've learned throughout this program and bring it into that new classroom to really teach my peers and my new team all the different resources that I have and all the tools that I have in my tool belt that I have really learned from this program. Because I think I have learned a lot about different ways to implement technology into my classroom to engage and enhance students' learning and to provide the most effective information. Well, thank you very much for listening to my presentation and going through my portfolio with me. I hope you enjoyed it.